Good morning and welcome to Legal Access. After a couple of weeks off for the holidays, we're back, and today's topic is going to be workers' compensation. We're going to be getting to that in just a few minutes. If you have any questions about workers' comp, today is the day to get those questions answered. On our panel today to answer those questions from the McGuire Law Firm, first of all, is Ian McGuire. And also from McGuire Law Firm is Tiffany Buffkin. Hey,
Hello.
Tiffany.
Hey.
And down at the end of the table, we're going to start off our segment here today by talking to Sean Mazur from the Myrtle Beach Community Kitchen. And Sean, I know that we, before the holidays, we've talked to you, and I know that going into the holidays, a lot of people think about giving to nonprofits. Now that the holidays are over, you still have the need 12 months out of the year. Is it tougher to get things covered this time of the year?
It is actually tougher to get things covered this time of the year. We, everything starts over. Your budget starts over. Everybody else's budgets start over. You have to start applying for all your grants again. But bills just keep coming in. So it's once we get past the giving season, it gets a little tough for us.
And Sean, you're obviously, as Dave said, with the Community Kitchen. How long have you been with the Community Kitchen?
I was just discussing this with somebody a little bit earlier today. I've been there over 12 years now.
Because I know you started off as cooking, right?
Yeah, I started off as a cook. The director at the time, Peter, needed a kitchen manager. I became his kitchen manager, and then he supposedly retired and moved to Florida in 2019, right before COVID, and I became the director then. So.
And you've done a great job, and it's such a valuable asset to our community. It really is, and there's so many charities and people in need, but there's no question that it's you can make such a direct, positive help by donating to the Community Kitchen. So why don't Sean, if you could tell us a little about what you do every day, and tell us how people can contact you if they want to donate money or their time.
Yeah, we serve Monday through Friday. We serve breakfast and we serve lunch. Our breakfast runs from 7:30 till 9, and then our lunch runs from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock. We'll serve anywhere from 320 to 400 people every day, Monday through Friday. We are 100%, as of last year, privately funded, which means we don't receive any money from the city, from the county, from the state, or even any federal grants. So we depend on all the donations that the businesses and the different individuals and all the organizations around here. We 100% depend on that money to come in, and we're actually quite proud of that. We're not a burden on anybody. There is only 3 paid employees: myself, my kitchen manager Lisa, my assistant kitchen manager Mark. Other than that, it's 80 to 100 volunteers that we need every single week that comes through.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's quite the operation down there. And if somebody's interested in volunteering, I encourage them to stop on by and just take a look around.
Yeah, because it is. Our office has volunteered a number of times, and it's really incredible the way everything gets done. And you would think with volunteers that have never done it before, have only done it a couple of times, that they would slow down or there'd be issues. But you really run a smooth ship, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, the great thing is I've been there 12 years, and there's volunteers that have been there longer than I've been there.
Yeah.
So there is always somebody there. If somebody's never volunteered before and they're nervous about it, which understandably some people are, there's always somebody there to help them. Always somebody there to guide them. Always somebody there to talk them through whatever they're doing.
That's awesome.
Let's talk about the people that actually eat at the Community Kitchen on a regular basis, and I know there's probably a portion of the homeless community probably that take advantage of getting the opportunity to eat, which they might not otherwise. So, but there's also people that have jobs that just aren't able to afford life in Myrtle Beach, which can be expensive, and they
especially this time of the year,
get a good breakfast before their day starts, their work day starts.
Absolutely. And well, we've surveyed it before, and believe it or not, only 15% of the people that we serve at the kitchen are homeless population, and we're happy to serve them.
Yeah, of course.
But we don't care who you are, what you've done, where you've been. If you're hungry, you come in and get a meal. And a lot of our guests that come in are the working poor. They have to just decide whether they want to do prescriptions or food or just bills, rent, whatever it might be. And we're blessed that we get to take care of at least the food part of it for them.
Yeah, on a federal level, we've seen a lot of food assistance be cut by the front of the year. Have you seen an uptick in people needing your help because of that?
We did in the beginning. We did in the beginning when that was all going on. They sorted some of it out. So the food pantry next to us they do mainly the groceries and help with the bills. We do mainly the in-house meals where somebody comes in and gets a hot meal before they go out to work or before they go on their way. So we've actually served about 400 people less this year, or I'm sorry, in 2025 than we did in 2024, but the numbers have pretty much stayed the same as far as our general feeding program goes. And then our kids program, it topped out about 94,000 meals and snacks in 2025, and our general feeding program topped out at about 87,000. So that 400 in the scheme of things isn't a whole lot. We're still an extremely busy place.
Yeah, and the camaraderie is excellent, but both with the volunteers and also the people that are there eating.
I'm proud to consider some of the people that come in for our services, our guests, my friends.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know them over the years, and they know that I'd do anything I can for them, and I know that they'd do anything that they can for me if I need some help. So it's kind of neat to see some of the guests come back if we happen to be short-staffed. They'll come back and help us out.
And you are fantastic for what you do. You really are, and we're
We
so
love
happy
doing
to
it.
have you here, and we're happy to consider you a friend, and you just do so much for this community, and we just can't say thanks enough. Talk a little bit about how people, if they want to donate, how they can do that, because as you said, there's no assistance other than from the private sector. So I think hopefully people watching will find it in their hearts and to help.
And
So how
there's
could they
two
do
main
that?
ways. If you're tech savvy or you know a little bit about the internet, you go to our
Yeah.
website, communitykitchenmb.org, and you can donate through PayPal on there. There's several different buttons that you can click on it, and it'll guide you through that process. Or if you prefer the old snail mail, you can do that also, and just send any donation to the community kitchen. We use P.O. Box because it's more secure. P.O. Box 563, Myrtle Beach 29579.
And before we let you go, just talk a little about the kids. How you talked about serving all those meals for children.
Yeah.
Talk a little about that.
Well, unfortunately, last year we had to cut it back a little bit because of some funding issues. We used to work with 5 different agencies, and we had to cut it back to 2. So it's still pretty busy. They come by every week and pick up snacks from us. And then during the summertime, we also do a hot meal that we deliver to them also.
Well, that's amazing, and just, again, thank you for all you do. We wanted to give this check from the McGuire Law Firm to you, and anything you need, I hope you'll always know you got a friend with us, and give us a call. But we'd encourage anyone that wants to volunteer, and really you'll get more out of it than you're giving, I think. But the community kitchen there on Joe White Avenue, is that right?
Yep, 1411 Mr. Joe White Avenue. And they can also go to the website, and there's a volunteer button that they can click on there also, and I get back to them pretty quick.
And of course, the need for frankly money, funding is always there. So when you're giving money to the community kitchen, you know exactly where it's going, and it's going to help feed people in the local community. So we hope you consider doing that. And again, thank you, Sean.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Sean, thanks for all you do. And again, if you need more information, go online to communitykitchenmb.org and find out more and make that donation today. Sean, again, thanks for being here. And coming up in just a second, when we get back, we'll talk about our topic of the day, which is workers' compensation. If you have any workers' comp questions, today's the day to get those questions in. We'll get them answered for you coming up in just a second right here on Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Welcome back to Legal Access, as today our topic is workers' compensation. I want to thank Sean once again for the Myrtle Beach Community Kitchen. Go online to communitykitchenmb.org if you'd like to find out more. And as we said, the need is 12 months out of the year. It's not just during the holidays. So if you can help out, please do. Today's topic is workers' compensation. And from the McGuire Law Firm, of course, Ian McGuire and Tiffany Buffkin. If you have any questions, please make sure and get them in. Phone number's on your screen, 848-8080. Call us, we'll get you on the air and answer your questions. Now, if you also have any questions, you can stop by the McGuire Law Firm office, 1600 Oak Street in North Oak Street in Myrtle Beach. They've got a book that's out. It's called Mistakes That Can Destroy Your Workers' Compensation Case. It's absolutely free. You can stop by and get your copy today, or you can go online to McGuireLawFirm.com and you can download a copy of it there as well. So you can check it out either way, but make sure and not destroy your workers' compensation case. Now, a workers' comp can be taken care of by the individual who gets injured. What is somebody missing out on if they try to handle a workers' comp case by themselves rather than getting representation?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that in general, even though workers' comp, the system was kind of designed in a way that people can represent themselves, the forms are easy to fill out. And it's not, you're not filing a lawsuit, and you don't necessarily always have to like take depositions and things of that nature. There's a lot of caveats, a lot of technicalities, and so I think that in general, most cases, it is advantageous to get legal representation because there's things even outside of the statute and the law that someone who deals with workers' comp every day, will be privy to that perhaps you won't be, which, one example is there are some doctors who, whenever the workers' comp adjuster chooses your doctor, it's a regular doctor, it's someone who sees, it's not a workers' comp doctor, right? Yeah. But there are some doctors who are incredibly conservative, and they're going to give opinions that no, this isn't related to the accident, even because they have a lack of understanding of what is compensable under the statute. So if you have an attorney, we can pretty much look at it and say, like, I know this doctor might have given an opinion that was adverse to your position, but this is what they're missing. They're missing, the prior medical records, and so I always think that people, in a vast majority of cases, it is a disservice not to reach out and get an attorney.
Yeah, because the insurance companies, they all have attorneys.
Yeah.
And the attorneys are working from day one, frankly, not to help your case, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
I won't go as far as saying that to minimize their case, but
yeah.
they don't have the same interest
Yeah.
as the injured person does. And you mentioned the doctors, and these doctors are they're not workers' comp doctors, but they're also not necessarily familiar, as
Yeah.
you're saying, Tiffany, with the statute and with workers' compensation. And a lot of times, once the doctor's educated or
Yeah.
or it's explained to the
Yeah.
doctor, something that they wouldn't relate, now they can relate because they say, all it needs to be is an aggravation or even just an acceleration of care, need for care. Stuff that, in another form, it might not be the way it would be explained, right?
Yeah.
So the workers' comp statute in that respect is very liberal to provide care to an injured person.
Yeah.
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 So if you've been hurt on a job and you report it to your manager or your boss, a lot of times you'll be contacted then by somebody from the Workers' Compensation Commission. And if you talk to if they call you guys up and say, hey, I might need some help, but I've got a caseworker already. Well, what is the caseworker doing? Are they giving every advantage to the injured worker that they can, or are they working in their own interest, or what's happening there?
That actually is an interesting question, because there are really, the case manager is someone who is hired by the insurance company, and their purpose is they are in the appointment with the person. They know this is what the doctor recommended, so it's really to facilitate care. If there's an MRI that's been recommended, having a nurse case manager is advantageous to the injured worker because they can get that MRI order, go get it approved, and there's not so much of a delay. But we don't live in a perfect world, and not everything is always harmonious and how it should be. So in my experience, there are a lot of case managers who understand their role, that they are neutral, they are here to help facilitate appointments, and they don't get involved in the legal aspect or trying to direct the doctor to make certain recommendations. However, there are some case managers who I feel like that neutral role is kind of taken away, and they're pushing the doctor. Can you put this person at maximum medical improvement? Put them at maximum medical improvement. So I think that you have, with everything, you have really good case managers, you have really bad nurse case managers. And so one thing with the nurse case manager that I always tell people is, whenever you are talking to them, they are not representing you, okay? So, you can can be honest with your symptoms and things, but don't speak to them in a way that you would speak to your attorney.
Right.
If there's questions that you have, if there's something you're worried about, call and talk to your attorney about it. The nurse case manager is there to facilitate appointments.
They're not there necessarily to advocate for you,
Yes,
and I
yeah.
think that can get confused, right? When, you know, back in the old, I think pre-2007, if you know, we didn't feel like the case manager was working in a neutral
Yeah.
stance, or at least in our client's best interest. You could simply say, well, we don't want a case manager coming into the doctor's appointments and all that. You know, after post 2007, that all changed. So, as it's one more reason to have a lawyer involved in the case, because and I think the vast majority of these case managers are really just trying to do their job, and they're not trying to do anything to influence negatively the injured person. But it does happen, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So pre-2007 is the old days. Boy, you really make me feel old.
Yeah. I wish I was like the oldest of my old. It goes even farther back.
Goes back
than that.
further.
That's when the law sort of changed. Yeah.
We're going to run to a break here real quick. When we get back, we would love to talk to you. If you have any questions, either as an employer or an employee about workers' compensation, give us a call. Phone number's on your screen, 843-848-8080. Workers' compensation, that's our topic here today on Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Welcome back. It's Legal Access, brought to you by the McGuire Law Firm. Our topic today is workers' compensation. If you have any questions about workers' comp, the phone number is on your screen. Give us a call here today. We'll get those questions answered. Again, if you would like something more at your fingertips, a little bit more analog, you can stop on by and get your absolutely free book. It's called Mistakes That Can Destroy Your Workers' Compensation Case. It's available for free, like I said, at the McGuire Law Firm offices, 1600 North Oak Street in Myrtle Beach, or you can go online to McGuireLawFirm.com and download your own copy. It's right there available. Just search around a little bit, should be able to find it. Now, as far as Tiffany, you mentioned at the beginning of the show that some doctors are a little bit more conservative in their treatment. If you feel like if you've been hurt on the job and you go to a doctor as recommended by the case manager or by your employer, and you don't feel like they're giving you the treatment that they should be giving you, do you have the option to go to and get a second opinion?
Yeah, you know, in South Carolina, every state is different because workers' comp is a statutory process. But in South Carolina, you're not technically entitled to a second opinion by way of right. But if you've had an injury, an accident, and you're treating for injuries, more times than not, if you ask for a second opinion, that will be granted. Now, there's ways to do that. You can reach out to the adjuster if you're handling the claim on your own and ask them to authorize a second opinion. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. If they say no, we're not authorizing a second opinion, then at that point the onus is on you to request a hearing or get in front of a commissioner and ask them for a second opinion. And you know, the commissioner will generally, you know, they give those pretty freely, especially if there's an objective injury. But you know, you have to be careful just going out and seeking treatment on your own if you're not happy with the doctor that you're seeing.
Phone number's on your screen if you'd like to give us a call and have any questions about workers' compensation, 848-8080. You see it right there in front of you. We do have Felicia on the line with us right now. Hi, Felicia. Thanks for calling in. What's your question for our panel today?
Yes, sir. I have a silent interruption. I'm calling about a procedure that my mother had around May the 28th, and or before that. She started having symptoms with her stomach, and she proceeded to go to different emergency rooms until she finally got in the hospital permanently. And she was there for about 4 days after or in between with her surgery. But the surgery that she had, after she had her surgery, she kept having complications. And my concern is that did they diagnose her with the right diagnosis, or could it have been something else? Because she had surgery for what they said that she had, a colon mass. But I was thinking to myself, as I did some search within my own being, she could have had something, maybe diverticulitis. It's a symptom that's called that. And she keeps having loose stools. And I don't understand why she continues to have loose stools if this doctor had removed her entire colon. And I do know that there are still symptoms that you can have after this surgery, but she had surgery in May, and she continued to have these symptoms, and it's just it scares me a lot.
Yeah.
And she has lost so much weight.
Well, I wish your mom all the best, and the best thing you could do sometimes is maybe get a second opinion to see if everything was being done properly. But we could talk for a minute about when those kind of situations come up. Yeah, I mean, just from a practical standpoint, I'd always encourage a second opinion. Anything with medical, make sure you email rather than phone call so you have something in writing. You want to talk a little about just a med mal case, what goes on?
Yeah, because it sounds like you're kind of questioning about medical negligence. And if I heard correctly that it was May of 2025, then you probably have 3 years to initiate a lawsuit, but it could be 2 years if it's a government entity. But you definitely can reach out to an attorney who does medical malpractice. That kind of sounds like it would be more of a misdiagnosis type case. And those, even if you have a bad outcome, that doesn't necessarily mean that the doctor was negligent. Unfortunately, with medical procedures, there are inherent risk and side effects, and you can do a surgery perfectly normal and according to the book and not fix the problem. But if you're worried that perhaps your mom was misdiagnosed, just from from a practical standpoint, I agree with Ian, definitely reach out and see another doctor to see did she have diverticulitis, and she should have been, this is the procedure that should have been done, to see if there's anything to help your mom from a health standpoint. I would go to a different doctor outside of the facility and the practice who did the surgery to begin with, and see what that doctor says. And if you're concerned, or if you if you find out that the wrong procedure was performed, then you can certainly reach out to a law firm who does medical malpractice cases, and they can review to see if there was some sort of negligence and whether you have an actionable claim. But I hope your mom all the best, and I hope you guys can figure out the cause of her condition and the symptoms that she's experiencing.
All right, Felicia, thanks so much for calling in, and hopefully that helps out a little bit. Remember, as far as workers' compensation is concerned, if you want a free book, Mistakes That Can Destroy Your Workers' Compensation Case, it's available at the McGuire Law Firm offices, which is at 1600 North Oak Street in Myrtle Beach, or you can go online to McGuireLawFirm.com, and there is a downloadable copy of the book in the website as well. I want to thank Sean Mazur, who was here earlier from the Community Kitchen of Myrtle Beach. Go online to communitykitchenmb.org to find out more about them and how you can help, not just through the holidays, but throughout the rest of the year as well. And to our panelists, Ian McGuire and Tiffany Bufkin from the McGuire Law Firm. Next week when we get together, criminal law is our topic. Hope to see you then next Thursday right here on WMBF News.
You may wish to consult a lawyer to obtain case-specific legal advice. Information regarding lawyers can be located online or by contacting the South Carolina Bar